Police say a fight escalated, ending in gunfire and leaving 2 men in critical condition.
If you were wondering why Allstar Jr. was wearing this shirt, well, that's because Ben 10's team is a little too chatty-patty. Y'all remember this story, right? Yeah, the boy is dying. He died twice. That is shocking. Clear twice.
The whole situation flipped serious the second news dropped about the death tied to NBA YoungBoy's brother. This wasn't some quiet headline you scroll past and forget. It hit hard and put pressure on everybody connected. Things got even louder when YoungBoy spoke out in public because now all eyes were locked in. Inside that restaurant, chaos jumped off fast. A group of men circled one person, dragged him down, and started snatching chains right off his neck like it was nothing. Now, in most situations, someone might just take that loss and move on, live to see another day. But this wasn't just anybody. That was Allstar Jr., Detroit rapper, Joy Road raised, a name stamped from real street history. He's been active long before the fame, so he wasn't lacking or caught slipping. The second it went left, he was ready. Shots rang out, loud and sudden. People panicked, diving behind tables, chairs crashing everywhere, pure madness in seconds. Then the internet lit up. Almost instantly, posts started flying. Bro, why? Somebody just got from inside the scene.
He's losing a lot of blood, so that's why you're not seeing anything. All the rumors about the paralyzed, yeah, that's factual, that's actual. But the thing is that boy done died twice in that hospital, man. When they seen him, he was barely breathing. Thank goodness he was barely breathing. But the way that man was shot in hell, man, I'm going to tell y'all right now, it is a minor miracle, no, a major miracle that he's still alive. So that's y'all update, man. Do with it what you will.
That's how quick it spread. That's how crazy it looked. But here's the twist that had everybody frozen. The ones who allegedly tried to rob Allstar Jr., they were reportedly tied to NBA YoungBoy. One of them, NBA Ben 10, a close affiliate, ended up in critical condition at a Houston hospital. And that alone had people talking heavy. But that's not even the craziest part of this whole situation. The part that really shocked people? Allstar Jr. didn't hide, didn't lay low. He went straight back to Detroit, walked into a jewelry store, and posted it online like it was a regular day out shopping for sneakers. That move had everybody confused, questioning everything, and watching closely. Let's slow it down and really break this story apart. To understand how things escalated to a late-night scene in a Houston restaurant, with chains getting snatched and shots ringing. Now, you gotta go back to the beginning. You need to know who Allstar Jr. really is, because if you're not tapped into Detroit or the deeper rap scene, it's easy to overlook his background. His real name is Jeremy Ford, born February 6, 1994 in Detroit, Michigan, right off Joy Road on the west side. And if you know anything about that area, then you already understand the kind of environment that builds. That's not a place known for soft stories or easy paths. He came up in tough conditions, raised by a single mother, and he even spoke on it himself in a 2022 No Jumper interview. He admitted that as a teenager, he was already involved in stealing and boosting cars, which led to jail time before music ever became part of his life.
Last vid got removed, but NBA YoungBoy friends are now in the hospital after getting popped by a man because police claim they tried to rob him, and he might not even go to jail. Here's the story, keep up. So Ben 10, one of NBA YoungBoy friends, and someone named Ron were trying to snatch the chain off a man inside the establishment called Confessions in Houston. They wrestled him to the ground, took his chain, then that's when the rest of the group proceeded to jump him. Yeah, the man then proceeded to whip out his firearm and start trying to play the games to track.
But here's where things shift. What separates Allstar Jr. from others with similar pasts is that he didn't just step into music, he had real skill behind it. He connected with a Detroit group called All Stars Ball Hard, a name that holds weight. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because that same collective helped bring up T Grizzly, one of Detroit's biggest rap names in recent years. Allstar Jr. was right there in that mix, building his name from the ground up. Allstar Lee, Allstar Poe, this wasn't just some random rap lineup, this was a full movement coming straight out of Detroit. These names carried weight in the city, and together they built something people actually respected. Allstar Jr. jumped in and started dropping mixtapes like Get a Bag or Go Home, Blowing Extras, Cases Pending. Even the titles alone tell you the mindset he was moving with, no guessing needed. He really started getting attention in 2017 with his debut track Intro, and from that point on he stayed consistent, carving out his own lane step by step. He's not a mainstream celebrity you see everywhere, but in Detroit, his name rings bells. And in real hip-hop circles where people actually pay attention, the ones who know what's real, they know him. Like people say, real recognize real, and his name stays in those conversations. Now here's a detail that matters more than it seems. Allstar Jr. has multiple brothers, but when he spoke about family in a 2022 interview, he kept things low-key and didn't put them out there like that. That's not by accident. That's how things move in certain environments. You don't put your people on display, you protect them by keeping things quiet. Remember that, because it connects later in a serious way. So that's the picture. Allstar Jr., a Detroit product with real background, real stories, and solid respect in the awning underground scene. Not famous enough to move with heavy security everywhere, but definitely not someone people can test without consequences. That mix right there is exactly what made this situation go the way it did. Now on the other side, you've got the NBA YoungBoy circle, and that's a whole different world by itself. Kentrell Golden, born October 20th, 1999 out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. By now, his name speaks for itself. NBA YoungBoy is one of the most active and talked about rappers of his generation.
And police haven't arrested the man. They're calling him the victim because, Stand Your Ground is big in Texas. If anything, once Ben 10 and Ron heal up, Houston Police Department are going to try to arrest them because they're literally labeling this attempted robbery that went wrong for the robbers. Yeah, but I'll keep y'all updated any more news come out. I really don't know what's been going on with rappers of lately. Every time we hit the news, somebody getting popped for something or somebody getting robbed. It's those between those two things.
The numbers don't lie at all. He's consistently one of the most streamed artists in the entire music game, with a fan base that goes harder than almost anybody else out right now. His catalog is so deep, you could spend days going through it and still not catch everything. And when Complex named him Best Rapper Alive for 2025, that wasn't some small opinion. That was a loud statement that had people debating everywhere. But YoungBoy's world? It's layered, and not in a simple way. From the very start of his career, he's always moved with a tight circle around him. A group that stands with him, moves for him, and sometimes even acts in his name. Some of those people are family, some are close affiliates, others are signed under his label. And then there are those who carry his name in the streets, even when he's not physically there, and that part matters more than people realize. One key name in that circle is NBA Ben 10, real name Ben Anthony Fields, a 26-year-old rapper out of Baton Rouge, and not just some random associate. This is someone firmly planted in YoungBoy's inner circle. He's collaborated with YB, he's been seen moving alongside OG33, who is YoungBoy's manager, and these aren't background figures. These are people directly connected, making moves close to the source. Now rewind to April 9th, 2026. Just hours before everything went down at Confessions Restaurant, Ben 10 posted on his Instagram story, showing himself out in Houston. He was with OG33, tagging people, vibing. Everything looked normal. Nothing in that moment hinted at what was coming next. But that post, it turned into something way bigger after the fact. It became a timestamp, a digital receipt showing exactly where he was and who he was around, right? Before everything suddenly went left. But hold on. There's another name that needs to be brought into this, and this one took the whole situation from local tension to a national headline in less than a day. J. Prince Jr., the son of legendary Houston rap figure J. Prince. He's not just known because of his father. He's built his own name, his own connections, and carries serious presence in the Houston scene. Now here's where things really shift. According to video footage that spread everywhere on April 10th, captured and quickly circulated online, J. Prince Jr. was allegedly at Confessions Restaurant that same night, right there in the building when everything went down. That detail alone raised the stakes instantly, because now this isn't just about a chain getting snatched and a situation going left. Now you're talking about influence being in the room, people with real weight behind their names. This changes how people look at everything. Now conversations start, leaning toward possible coordination, deeper ties, and consequences that could go way beyond a simple back and forth between rappers. This isn't small anymore, and everybody watching could feel that shift immediately. Let's lock in on the timeline. April 9th, 2026. Confessions Restaurant located on the 3200 block of Kirby Drive in Houston. Around 11:30 p.m., Allstar Jr. is at that location. Now what brought him there that night? That part isn't fully clear yet. But what has been shared publicly comes from Houston Police Department Lieutenant R. Wilkins, along with what security footage reportedly shows. According to Lieutenant Wilkins, a group of men approached Allstar Jr. inside the restaurant, and this wasn't random at all. The way it played out suggested intention, not coincidence, and that's where things start getting even more serious. Police made it clear this didn't look random at all. It seemed like the people involved possibly knew exactly who they were dealing with. These weren't random thieves acting off impulse after spotting jewelry. This was allegedly targeted. Somebody knew Allstar Jr. was going to be there, somebody knew what he had on, and somebody may have set the whole thing in motion. What happened next unfolded fast. About 30 seconds to a minute of straight chaos. Multiple men surrounded Allstar Jr., forcing him down to the ground. They started ripping chains straight off his neck while he was pinned down. Just picture that for a second. He's on the floor, surrounded, people grabbing at everything he's wearing. For most people, that's where it ends. You take the loss and just try to make it out safely. But this situation flipped in an instant. Allstar Jr. had a firearm, and while he was on the ground in the middle of everything, he managed to reach it. According to Lieutenant Wilkins, the alleged shooter presented a pistol and started shooting randomly. That's when everything went from bad to uncontrollable. 2 people were hit and rushed to nearby hospitals, both reported in critical condition. One of those individuals was NBA Ben 10. Now imagine the scene inside that restaurant. People screaming, chairs knocked over, panic everywhere. Someone even posted in real time saying, "Bro, why? Somebody just got killed." That's how intense and confusing it looked in the moment. People were diving behind tables, trying to get out of the way. Complete chaos taking over the entire scene. And in the middle of all that confusion, Allstar Jr. walked out. That's the part that left people stunned. But here's where things get even more intense.
Man, so let's say NBA YoungBoy's brother Ben 10 was reportedly shot at a Houston restaurant called Confessions. They saying that him and somebody else is in critical condition. I ain't gonna lie, bro, I'm seeing all type of different shit on this situation. Some people already talking about he passed away. Some people saying he's still alive. Somebody said that he tried to take somebody's chain. They saying they tried to take his chain. I feel like the only thing you can actually trust is the police report. Police got on video and explained what happened, and they said it was about a chain. They just didn't say who took whose chain.
The official investigation, according to Lieutenant Wilkins, was only just beginning. Meanwhile, online, people were already connecting dots and building their own timeline before authorities could even finish their first report. Within hours of the shooting, social media turned into its own crime scene with clips, posts, and theories flying everywhere. But this is where Allstar Jr. shocked the entire internet, making jaws drop across hip-hop Twitter and Instagram all at once. He went straight back to Detroit and then posted, and DJ Academics caught it quickly because he catches everything online. It was Allstar Jr. inside a jewelry store showing off new chains and fresh ice in a way that immediately caught attention. The caption hit even harder, suggesting he had to rush back to Detroit to replace jewelry tied to what allegedly went down with Ben 10. Read it again because he bought new chains and posted within hours like nothing had slowed him down at all. And if you looked deeper through the heat carousel, there was another message floating around allegedly suggesting he shot someone who believed they had mob ties and learned otherwise. This wasn't someone running scared. It was a very deliberate Detroit statement sent loud and clear. The internet exploded with hashtags trending everywhere and people dissecting every detail in real time. OG3 left them in tags, and people immediately clocked that as a reference to OG33, YoungBoy's manager allegedly stepping away during the chaos. That line, all that playing, hit different too, like a warning that games were officially done. Every hashtag in that post started getting decoded like it was a coded message, and people online were convinced there was hidden meaning behind every single word. Detroit fans started turning up for their guy, while NBA YoungBoy's fan base was reacting just as heavy. The 4KT gang was clearly in their feelings over how everything was unfolding. Hip-hop media went into full breakdown mode fast. Academics went live, WorldStar was pushing footage instantly, and suddenly the whole internet was locked into the same story at the same time. No escape from it. And then things escalated again. This is where people really started connecting the dots, and they connected them fast. First question everyone kept, asking how did Allstar Jr. even end up in Houston that night in the first place? And even more important, who knew his exact location ahead of time? Because Lieutenant Wilkins made it clear this looked targeted. It appeared possible they knew this guy, and in police language, that kind of wording always raises eyebrows about someone possibly tipping information off. Then J. Prince Jr. enters the conversation. Video footage reportedly shared by Daily Loud showed him allegedly present at the scene during the incident. Now, to be clear, he hasn't been charged with anything at all. But investigators, according to DJ Academic's reporting, were allegedly looking into everything, building a case and examining whether J. Prince Jr. had any role in how the chain-snatching situation was set in motion before everything exploded into shooting chaos. A DEs even went as far as reaching out and calling Detroit Mayor Dogface to break down the Allstar Jr. angle and how J. Prince Jr. might connect to the bigger picture. If all of this is true, think about what it actually means for a second. If J. Prince Jr., son of one of Houston's most powerful rap figures, was allegedly tied to or even involved in a setup targeting a Detroit rapper, and that situation then spiraled into two people connected to NBA YoungBoy being shot, this stops being simple drama. This isn't just beef anymore, it starts looking like a full-scale collision between worlds. Detroit versus Houston energy, NBA YoungBoy's camp versus Detroit rap ties, mob ties influence versus the All-Star movement. People online were treating it like different factions were clashing in real time, and the internet only made it louder. Now, separate from J. Prince Jr., there's still the question of NBA YoungBoy himself. Where is YB in all of this? Because here's what stood out. YoungBoy was completely silent publicly. No posts, no stories, no reactions at all. And that silence hit harder than anything anyone else was saying online. Because YB is not known for staying quiet when people around him get caught up in situations like this. His past reactions have always been loud, direct, and immediate. So when he goes dark, people notice right away and start reading into it, trying to predict what might happen next. And there's one more layer people keep missing. NBA. Ben 10's own Instagram story from earlier that same night shows him linked up with OG33, YoungBoy's manager, hours before everything went down. He was tagging members of YoungBoy's circle and posting that he was in Houston with the team. So this wasn't random movement. He was allegedly moving with a purpose that night, and that path reportedly led him straight into a situation nobody expected to escalate the way it did. J. Prince Jr. is Houston royalty in his own right, with a network that stretches deep across the entire rap industry. When you start pulling on even one thread in this situation, the whole web starts shifting and reacting in real time. Every major player feels connected in some way, and the chessboard is fully set. But nobody has officially made a public move yet, even though everyone knows something is coming eventually. And when it comes specifically to J. Prince Jr., this may actually be the most important subplot in the entire situation. J. Prince Sr. built something in Houston that goes far beyond music. He built influence, structure, and a level of generational power that shaped how the city moves in hip-hop and business. His name has carried weight in protecting artists, resolving conflicts, and shaping industry relationships for decades.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. We gotta do better, man. This shit shouldn't come to this over no change. I guarantee whatever change somebody was trying to take wasn't worth it. NBA being beat the odds. I'm pretty sure he ain't even gotta live that life no more if it was him trying to take the change. But then again, bro, some people know what they signed up for. Let's hope he make it out of this situation and get the chance to turn his life around. I know NBA YoungBoy was hurt seeing this shit. For the people that don't know, this is one of his day one bros. Shit crazy.
So, if J. Prince Jr. ends up facing real legal exposure tied to an alleged robbery setup that spiraled into violence, that's not just another story in the headlines. That becomes a seismic moment for Houston hip-hop as a whole. It turns into a legacy-level conversation about power, reputation, and how far influence can stretch before it starts to crack under pressure. Nobody who understands the stakes wants that kind of heat attached to a family name with that much history behind it. But right now, that possibility is part of the discussion whether people like it or not. And that's why the situation has so many people locked in. What started as a chain snatching at a Houston restaurant has turned into one of the most layered and heavily analyzed situations the culture has seen in a long time. By 2026, Allstar Jr. walked into confessions as a relatively low-profile Detroit rapper. Most mainstream listeners barely recognized, but he walked out as someone whose name is now part of every major hip-hop conversation happening online and offline. NBA Ben 10 is alive and recovering, and that part is important. But it does not mean the situation is wrapped up or anywhere close to being finished. People online love to turn survival into closure, but legally and factually, this is still wide open. Now let's talk about the legal side, because this is where things get serious fast. Houston PD stated they had solid video footage from inside confessions plus multiple people on scene who were already speaking with investigators that same night. That means authorities aren't guessing. They're actively piecing together a timeline using cameras, phones, and witness accounts. And in 2026, that matters even more. Between restaurant surveillance, personal recordings, and the fact that Allstar Jr. allegedly posted parts of the aftermath on Instagram himself, investigators potentially have a lot of digital evidence to work with. So the real question isn't if something happens legally, it's who it lands on and when it happens. Does Allstar Jr. end up facing charges if prosecutors decide the shooting goes beyond self-defense? And on the flip side, does J. Prince Jr. get pulled into conspiracy scrutiny if investigators can establish he allegedly helped, coordinate, or had knowledge of the robbery setup? These aren't rumors anymore. These are real legal possibilities being discussed in connection to the case. And here's something people are overlooking. Allstar Jr.'s own social media activity could actually become part of his defense, not just his exposure. From a legal standpoint, posting details publicly during an active investigation can sometimes support a self-defense argument depending on context. His captions allegedly reference the situation in a way that lines up with the claim that he was robbed first, mentioning his jewelry and tying it directly to what ended up at the hospital with Ben 10. That kind of statement, while messy online, can also be used to reinforce a narrative that matches parts of what police are already describing in the early reports. That's receipts for his own version of events, whether he meant it that way or not. From a legal angle, JR's internet activity could actually end up working in his favor, even if from a street perspective it looks reckless as hell. Now the question everyone keeps circling back to, does NBA YoungBoy respond? So far, no public response. And that silence actually says a lot, because YB is not known for just letting situations around his circle slide without addressing them in some form. His entire career has been built on reacting directly, sometimes immediately, to anything he feels crosses a line. You also had earlier posts from NBA Ben 10 before everything went down, hinting at guilt and emotional tension building up in the background. That detail keeps resurfacing because it suggests multiple people in this situation were already feeling pressure before the incident even happened. So, when YB goes completely quiet after one of his affiliates gets seriously injured, people start debating what that silence really means. Is it strategy, or is it something deeper, like processing what just happened behind the scenes? Especially considering YB himself has said in interviews, including Complex, that he just wants peace, he wants to make music, and he wants to move forward in life. He's got projects lined up, including Slime Cry and Count in the Chamber, and whenever he's dealing with heavy situations, he tends to channel it straight into his music. If this situation is still sitting heavy with him internally, those upcoming releases could reflect it in a very direct way. Bar for bar, line for line. And knowing YB's style, it's rarely subtle when he's speaking through his music. The bigger question now is whether this Houston-Detroit connection escalates beyond what already happened. Because the overlap between these worlds has been building for years. Allstar Jr. comes from the same Detroit collective associated with T Grizzly, and T Grizzly's history has had indirect intersections with parts of the NBA YoungBoy universe as well. Over time, these circles have kept brushing up against each other in different ways, and this incident has only made those connections feel more visible. This is one more entry in a story that keeps refusing to let him just be just a musician anymore. YB himself said in his Complex interview that all he really wants is peace. He wants his mom happy, he wants to make music, and he wants Grammys, but the world around him keeps pulling him right back into situations tied to the streets over and over again. That's the real tragedy underneath all of this that people keep skipping past. These are real people involved in real-life consequences. Ben 10 is a real person who was shot multiple times and barely survived that night. Allstar Jr. is a real person who allegedly had to defend himself from multiple attackers during a robbery attempt that went wrong. J. Prince Jr. is a real person carrying a family name that already comes with heavy expectations and pressure in Houston. NBA YoungBoy is also a real person who watched someone connected to Babatsata. His circle nearly lose their life, and that changes the energy around everything instantly. The music might be entertainment, the culture might be loud, but the consequences are not entertainment at all. They hit real, and they don't care about fame, streams, or chart positions. They don't slow down just because somebody dropped a hit record. So this is where things stand right now in April 2026, and it's still not finished. The investigation is still open, and Houston PD is still working through video footage and witness statements from people who were actually on the scene. The case is still actively developing, and nothing has been fully closed out yet. Allstar Jr. has not been arrested as of the latest reports, and J. Prince Jr. has not been charged with anything either. His Detroit-raised, Joy Road-forged, all-star ball hard mentality was on full display, and the whole culture felt it watching everything unfold. Detroit just don't fold. That's the message that came. Through loud, whether you agree with how it played out or not, whether you believe it was self-defense or think the whole situation could have been avoided from the start, that message left Confessions Restaurant on April 9th, 2026, and spread everywhere instantly. Every phone, every timeline, every group chat in hip-hop lit up at the same time. So, I gotta ask y'all directly, do you think Allstar Jr. was justified in what allegedly happened? Do you think J. Prince Jr. could actually be facing charges once this investigation fully closes out? And what about NBA YoungBoy? Does he respond through music? Does he respond in the streets? Or does he stay completely silent and let everything pass? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I read every single one. Like the video if this broke it down for you, subscribe if you're new here, and share this with somebody who needs to understand what's really going on at this timing. No cap, we'll see you on the next one.